Hello, Danny. How's it going?
All right, it's me. It's me, Danny fucking Bryce. Here I am.
Let me get this on record. I'm complaining about this being the bad side of my face, and Danny says that I have a symmetrical face, which I'm just going to tell everybody from now on.
No, it's true. Like, me and all of our mutual friends are just like, oh, Kitty's got a really symmetrical face. That's pretty much, she knows. We've told her already, she knows.
Never told me
What's
that
this
before.
podcast called? What's it called?
It's
Hot
called...
and Dyslexic, because she knows.
Well, thanks. That's my bio now.
That's good.
So, welcome to my Neurodivergent diary with me, Kitty Cowell. In this podcast, I am going to be talking to neurodivergent people. I did say previously it's going to be neurodivergent and neurotypical, but for the foreseeable future, I've decided it's going to be just neurodivergent people because this is our space, right? And today I have my good friend, Danny Price. To be fair, everybody that's like our close friends calls you Danny Price. Do you know what I mean? Then other people now call you Danny fucking... They'll be like, I'll just mention Danny and they're like, what, Danny fucking Price?
Well, I used to live in St Albans with a few of our friends, which you know as well.
Yeah.
And,
do you want to name drop who that is?
Oh, it's just the Shikari boys, isn't it? And like, I was always
we love
just...
them, a.k.a...
they're good guys.
Yeah.
I was always just... I was putting on nights. I was a promoter in it. And I was always just doing like mad shit. And someone would be like, who's doing this? And it'd just be me like fucking, I don't know, like just causing havoc. And they'd be like, oh, it's Danny fucking Price, isn't it? And then this guy... Paul Littler, I don't care, I'll drop his name. Paul Littler,
right.
It was like, there's one guy I'd really like to punch. He's a skinny white guy with a trilby hat, and he's bald. And he's like, this one guy I'd really like to punch. He's Danny fucking Price. And I just was like, yeah, that's my name now.
Okay, so Danny fucking Price is Danny's handle on the internets. Just on Instagram, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually banned from most other platforms, so... It's that Danny fucking Price, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a name.
YouTube let me put up stuff, but then they just like shadow it. And
right.
Twitter deleted my accounts as soon as Elon Musk took over.
Right.
And I did set up another one, but I just did it out of spite, not to use. Twitter's a waste space anyway. It's like, I don't like places where people can't be accountable by their image. Like, you have to Instagram, you can share your text, you can share your life, you can share your picture, your personality on there.
Yeah,
I think Twitter is very much like there's a wall up there and you can pretty much just bully people. That's all it is. People are just on there for bullying and trolling, really.
True. So the point of this podcast is to talk about being neurodivergent, right? And the difference between neurotypical people and neurodivergent people. And weirdly, or like surprisingly, I say like unsurprisingly, most of my friends are neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And so you are dyslexic, like me.
Yeah, I am. And I'm very recently diagnosed as well. And like, it's something that it's really weird. So I did this therapy thing called the Hoffman process. We're not really allowed to talk about it, as you know, but it's great. It's got like a big success rate. Loads of people have done it. And my life was, to be honest...
He was a dickhead before that.
Yeah, I was. I was a massive dickhead. Like, that's why he's like, oh, he's Danny fucking Price. What's he done? He's like shit on somebody's windscreen or whatever.
You were never a dickhead to me. And I suppose we didn't know each other that well before. But just to preference this, like... I know people, I have friends that maybe I've known longer than you, or even new people that I meet, and they might have met you way before, like, I even met you. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, so who's coming to this thing tonight? Oh, like, this person is Danny Price. They're like, what, that fucking dickhead?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you think that?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, because, like, 10 years ago, he started a fight with my mate. And I'm like, yeah, he's kind of different now.
Like, no, I was a bad guy, like I was. I grew up in Wolverhampton. Like, it was... I was good in school, was naughty in school, but like, I just didn't really give a fuck. And like, I've never fucking like targeted anybody or bullied anybody like in my life. Because I was bullied, like, but if anybody was to sort of step out of line with me or any of my friends, that was my big thing. If anybody crossed my friends, I would fucking hunt them down, I'd fuck them up. And like, I'm not proud of it, but also you have to stick up for little people, do you know what I mean? And that's always what I did. And I did take it too far a lot of the time. And then that sort of grew on me and I was just like, yeah, fuck everyone, do you know what I mean? And like, then when I moved to London, it was like, well, you lot like just go around like just taking the piss out of each other and just like, you know, like literally bullying each other. And it's for me, I'm like, oh, no, thank you. So then I was just like, I sort of blanketed everyone and was like, well, everyone can just get fucked. And anybody that would try and test my patience, I was just, you know, and it's not even like actual fighting people, but like just being so open to the point where I was like, I will literally just fuck you up if you want to carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, that isn't the right way to be. It's not the right way to be. Of course, it's not.
Yeah.
I know that now. But like at the time, I was just like, what's everybody's problem with everybody else? Just be honest and just sort of, And I can see how people sort of got on the wrong side of that and then therefore got on the wrong side of me. So I was a dickhead.
You're like outspoken, like you are an outspoken person.
Yeah.
And I suppose now you're outspoken, like, I mean, I can relate to just being angry when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm still a bit angry now, but I'm just a bit less aggro with people, or like my fuse is not quite as short. And I think that comes with age, but also comes with therapy.
Yeah, definitely.
And you are outspoken, but I suppose you use that now in a way like...
Yeah, it's like it's channeled through like the right ways and not about like petty things and like, you know, guest list arguments and shit like that, you know what I mean?
Fuck a guest list.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I get you. I mean... It's hard, though, when you work in that kind of industry as well, isn't it? Because if you are the guy that has to put the list together, you are the guy that's got to sort that shit out. Everyone's on your case.
Oh, yeah. As you know, like, I was throwing like 3-4 parties a week at one point. This was just before we started getting into owning spaces.
Right.
And it was just all these people that wasn't my friends or I didn't really know. And it was like and like, at one point, it got to this point where this one kid was like, I banned him from coming to a party because he had a drug problem basically, and he was on antidepressants. And then he like snuck in, fell up the stairs, like fucking started robbing booze from the bar, like, and he was just like, you really think that I'm that much of a pushover, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, when you are that person, people will test your patience all the time. And whether they mean to or not, whether they're just like chasing like, you know, the high or just wanting to be in these social circles or whatever, like it's not my problem, it's their problem.
Yeah.
But like now I'm very much like, I don't even really do events anymore. With our spaces, we have business managers and we get other people to do, so it's not really my issue, which is great because I cannot be bothered with that.
Yeah. How do you think then? So, like, when did you get diagnosed with dyslexia?
So, that was where it was going. I did the Hoffman process and I finished that in 2018, late 2018.
Yeah.
And then I was, as you know, I was in a really long relationship and... like in like 2019, I still was realizing we broke up, and then I was realizing that there was still something not quite right, and I couldn't concentrate, and you know, it felt like all the issues that I had before I did the therapy, they're like the bad issues were gone, the family issues, the anger issues, they were gone, but I was still not coping with day-to-day things, and I didn't know why. Anyway, so with Hoffman, it's a process. You get loads of aftercare, and you're always part of it. So then I went to see a psychologist, and they like basically just assessed me there, and then it was like, oh yeah, this is like just standard like dyspraxia, and dyslexia, and there was some tones of dyspraxia there as well, and I was like, but I can read, like I can, and I was like, but like.
It's not that simple.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's like when we're young, we get told that dyslexia is like, oh, the letters are jumping out in the page. It's like it's nothing like that at all. It's not being able to read a paragraph until like the third, fourth time for me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Same. Yeah.
And like the coordination thing is really bad for me as well. When I say left and right, I have to physically do this with one of my hands to do it, and that's part of the dyspraxia part of me.
Yeah.
And like so, there's a lot of times with my speech as well that. I only noticed when I started making these videos that there's words that I've been saying my entire life, but all of a sudden for like a minute, I will not be able to say that word. And I'll have it in my head and I just won't be able to say it.
Yeah.
And then when I would watch I'd edit these videos back and I'd be like looking at my eyes, like really struggling to say these words. And I was like, yeah, there's something wrong here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got offered to sort of, what did I want to do? What I wanted to do? Did I want to sort of get any kind of help or see anybody about it? And I suppose the stubborn part of me was like, well, I've got this far, so fuck it. Yeah. And I've just sort of lent into it and just like embraced my insecurities when it comes to that and just been very, very open. One of the things they taught me in Hoffman was like secrets die on exposure. So I'm always
So
just like,
true.
it's right, yeah?
So fucking, I'd get behind that 1000%.
Yeah, so I just don't keep anything to myself anymore. I'm just so open with everything I've ever done, where I am in my head, and I think that is my coping mechanism for it. And yeah, I do struggle, and I'm not going to lie, I try not to read books, and I can't read books. Like, it's different. I can read a recipe book all day, and that's fine. But like actually reading anything story, or I don't get it. But
Did they try? Oh, maybe they didn't, because this probably would come with like further help, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the color overlays, do you know about that?
No.
So do you know what would be really interesting? I don't know how I'm ever going to make this happen because she's nowhere near London. But my mum is a dyslexia assessor, right?
Okay.
She's a specialist. To have her in this room would have been so interesting. But it's got a word, and I keep forgetting what it is. I've always thought it was just part of dyslexia. It's not. It's some dyslexic kids have this and some don't. And basically, when you're diagnosed, they do color overlays, like a really deep assessment for dyslexia.
Oh, is it like the translucent paper thing?
Yeah, so it's like yellow, blue, they try different colors. And then you can get glasses. So like my mum will advise, like if the kid will like do it, you go to an optometrist and you get like yellow lens glasses, for example.
Right, okay.
But I just use overlays, right? So because I struggle so hard with books, but like if it's educational and I want to learn about it, I can be engrossed. It's just take me like months to read it.
Yeah.
But the overlays changed my life.
Really?
It's same on a computer. That's when my mum first discovered it. So before my mum was like a educational psychologist, or like dyslexia assessor is what she is. But she was a fashion designer. She's completely different. But because I'm so dyslexic, it like ruled her life.
Right.
She got ill, and then when she wasn't, she completely changed her career, basically, is the point. But when I was little, I was on like my dad's computer, and I like pressed a button and like highlighted the screen. I was like, oh my God, I can read this.
Right, okay.
And they were like, fuck, that's fascinating. Like, I don't know, it's just really interesting. But it's got a certain kind of word, but it's generally so cheap. Like you can just go to any like, I don't know, WH Smith's or like art store, and you get a pack of these just like plastic sheets.
Okay.
They're used for art, and then you just cut them down to like the size of a book.
Yeah.
Just keep them in a book, because it will.
So then I can just fucking read. Imagine that. Imagine I can just fucking read.
Probably, honestly, I bet you can. Like, my mum's very, very technical of all that. I can't say it's like this percentage of dyslexics have it, but like a majority, I'd say.
Okay.
Usually, with like she, assesses dyslexic kids every 2 weeks. The assessments that she does take like 10 days to write up. They're like very thorough.
Yeah.
And she can see whether you're also like she can't diagnose other things like. She can diagnose that, but say, for example, autism, but she can see the traits and then send you to be diagnosed thoroughly for other things. But it is really fascinating to hear about all that stuff. Question then. So in regards to that, so this is quite recent. How do you think, like in regards to school, like you obviously got through it and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But do you think it would have...
Oh, absolutely. Like, without going too deep in, it's a podcast, right?
Yeah,
but
it goes
like,
deep as you fucking
I was like, I was the fucking weird kid in primary school. I was weird as fuck.
Right.
So I think I've always put it down to creativity, and so like. You have your school uniform, and then my nan had this dinner lady's coat, and it was like a really long blue coat. Like, it was awful.
Right,
But I used to wear that as my coat. And then, remember Star Trek? And I hate Star Trek, but you know that guy that had like the thing? I bought some of them. Yeah, I bought some of them, and I used to wear them to school.
I mean, to be fair, there was a period in like the early 2000s, wasn't there, where those glasses were really fashionable.
Were they?
Yeah,
okay. So yeah, I was like the weird kid, and I used to... I used to sit in the playground and just play with twigs. All the kids played with toys or whatever. I used to play with twigs, and they used to call me Twiggy. And anyway, like they used to call me the daydreamer. Mrs. Simmons was my one of my main teachers in primary school, and she's like, "You just daydream. That's all you ever do." And that was it. Like, I never used to pay attention. Like, my handwriting used to change as well. Like all the time, I just have different times. That's probably like. I don't know. You'd probably put that down to split personality disorder or some shit right now. But like every week, my writing would change. I'd see somebody else's writing, I'd be like, I want to write like that. And
interesting. That's supposedly an autistic trait.
Yeah, well, it runs in the family. My brother is severely autistic, and my dad is undiagnosed ADHD, but you can tell when you look at him. Like, look at him, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My sister is also undiagnosed ADHD.
Do you want to explain who your dad is?
So my dad's a guy called Goldie.
Called Goldie. A DJ.
He's a fucking nutter, as you know. But again, really, really creative.
Yeah.
But like really creative, really, we're like the same fucking person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, like everyone on my dad's side of the family, we've all got traits of the spectrum, definitely.
You know, there's a new thing, and again, because of my mum, I've learned this. Basically, not a big thing, but because my mum is always having to do research because of her job, and they have to like re-qualify every year. So it's like, it's really thorough. We know it's a spectrum. Like being neurodivergent is like a spectrum of all the people that have all the things, right? Autism, ADHD, dyslexia, but they are now like qualified. Like this is, I think, going to be made. I don't know if it's like a law. I don't know how it works, but the way you qualify dyslexia is now going to be specifically taking on board the fact that it also crosses over into all these other traits.
Right. Okay.
Because before it'd be like, oh, well, you probably, like, I was only diagnosed dyslexic, whereas throughout different parts of, like, growing up, I'd be like, are you sure I'm not, like, ADHD or ADD or something? And I am actually going through the process of getting potentially diagnosed at the moment, or seeing if I have other things.
I was thinking about doing that, but again, I was just like, why?
What's the point?
You know what I mean?
Like now, I think if you know you're diagnosed with one thing, I do think it's important, because the one thing that I find is interesting, it's fascinating, but also it's kind of irritating. And this is the same with all these things, right? It's fashionable, or like it's a topical subject.
Yeah, you're right.
Now. And
like, have you noticed when you say to somebody, because I say to somebody, oh, like, just bear with me, like, I can be a bit, like, I did that thing, I hosted this thing the other day, and we had the meetings lead up, and I was like, just bear in mind, like, I'm quite dyslexic and dyspraxic, like, just bear with me. And like, people were like, oh yeah, like, I'm blah, 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 I do this, and it's like, are you diagnosed though?
Yeah,
do you know
exactly.
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know.
It's true, because people are like, oh, I'm a bit dyslexic, and I'm
yes,
like,
that's the one. They're like, oh, my dyslexic brain. Are you dyslexic though?
I'm like, I went to 6 schools. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have teenage angst because my parents are trying to do the best thing, don't get me wrong. But like, you know, constantly moving me to try and get me the best education. Like, bruh, did it actually fuck you up?
It doesn't help.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think it is a spectrum, and there are a lot of people that are gonna, you know, even neurotypical people, even if you know you're neurotypical, there are gonna be things that cross over. But they, like, mental health, like, this does kind of come into mental health, but it's different at the same time. Like, maybe you're just depressed and you've got anxiety or whatever, but that creates things that are similar that a neurodivergent person like has to deal with. But like that doesn't change. Like we can't have we can have help and we can learn how to deal with it.
But we can't change who we are. Like, you know
our
what I mean?
brains are made like that, quite literally. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, I think it's interesting to hear you say, like, oh, I was the weird kid in school or whatever. But like,
because I'm the cool kid now. That's why.
Obviously, it's so weird. So strange to imagine that.
I know.
But in regards to how you got through, so say, for example, like GCSEs, like all that kind of stuff.
I failed.
Did you?
Yeah, I failed
everything.
Even art, which I'm fucking amazing at.
Yeah.
Like, the art thing was slightly different, though. So I couldn't do the theory in art, but my practical was really fucking good. But, okay, the story is, I was obsessed with, like, tagging, basically. And
Graffiti,
street art, which is, like, obviously that's what my dad was known for. And, of course, as a kid, you're going to obsess over, like, you're what your parents do anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my stepdad was an electrician. I wanted to be an electrician for ages. Like, then I'm like, my actual dad was like a cool guy. I'm going to want to be the cool guy, right? So I decided to build an estate out of cardboard. It was about this big, and all the walls were graffiti art on all the walls, and it was fucking amazing. My teacher says graffiti is not an art.
I had these arguments as well.
Fuck, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. It makes me so angry, shit like that. Like,
and then because
were they white?
And because like because with art you don't have to do that much theory. Like you can have a really good practical piece. But because she said that, she rang up my mum and she's like, yeah, he's failed, like ungradable. And like that was fucked up. That that was the only thing that I cared about. But like for me, it was like I couldn't even do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there was a whole like I didn't tell my dad about it. I actually told my dad about it a couple of months ago when that Beyond the Streets exhibition was on, and I was like, I failed my art GCSE because of this reason, and now it's like the biggest exhibition in the UK right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it was for me that sort of that took me to a different place. I think that's sort of like where it went sort of downhill for me, because I kind of like didn't think that I could do anything, even though I know now I fucking smashed that Archie GCSE. But like I was like, it doesn't matter. And then my mom would call me stupid and whatever, and it's like,
really?
Yeah, and like it just felt.
That's not cool.
It's not. I know. Like, but like that's just
life.
It is just life. I love my mum, by the way. You've only got one mum, but should have been better. But anyway,
no one's perfect.
Exactly. But like that just sent me down a bit of a spiral of being a bit of a bad and I mean a bad person.
Like
then,
negative,
you know what I
it
mean?
makes sense because you've tried. Do you know what I mean? And then the outcome has been negative.
Yeah, for
so
real.
like, how are you gonna feel? Like, I get that. It's interesting you say. I think that if we are, I mean, I don't know. I can only relate to being dyslexic, right? So like, I relate to you in regards to that in school. I was a bit of a rebel, and it was only for like good reasons that my parents made me around, but it made me angry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I've got my first boyfriend in like secondary school. Oh no, you have to leave now. You know, like, or even just before that, like it was hard, but it was for all the right reasons. But I did that in art. Like art was my like, I'm always getting A's in art.
That was your thing,
That was my thing. I loved drama as well, but I got a D in my A level because of all of the theory, because of all the written stuff.
Yeah, it's fucked, right?
Yeah, it's really shit. Whereas my actual like acting was an A.
Yeah.
In art, I managed to get an A, but in GCSE, I really, really pushed like a similar thing with you, but with tattoos and piercings.
Right, okay.
Because I got nearly excluded for having an eyebrow piercing, which now I would have been like, I was quite strong about it, but I would have been like harder because boys were walking around with piercings.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Wearing plasters over them. So I was like, fine, I get an eyebrow piercing or wear a plaster over it. My parents are fucking furious. My parents dobbed me in.
What?
They dobbed me into the school.
Are we just slating parents now?
I know, I love my parents. I know it's all for the right reasons, but yeah, I mean, I get it. I was 14.
Yeah,
I should have
yeah.
had a piercing. But anyway, the point is, I was like, boys are doing it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to call you out on you shouldn't have been doing it. I think self-expression is one of the most important things for especially for teenagers that are going through that angst period. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I think parents need to be a bit more open. I think they are these days. But
yeah, I think it's because it was my face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but again,
your symmetrical face.
Thanks. Again, it was because all the girls were getting belly button piercings. And if I got a belly button piercing, it would be fine, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I fucking love Linkin Park and like Limp Bizkit and Pandora in Kerrang literally has her eyebrow pierced.
Right, okay.
And she was my idol. All I mean is like being a rebel. I think, it is hard when like I remember being told, I don't remember this because I was too young, but like even in like preschool, walking into the room apparently where they had books and they're like, everyone pick a book, like reading, when I was like 5 or something. And I apparently waited until everybody picked a book and then like found one with just pictures.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me as well. Yeah.
Fucking
Absolutely.
great at picture. Like in IQ tests, if anyone's ever had like a proper thorough IQ test, there's one test that they do where they give you like squares and they're pictures.
Yeah.
And they give you 2 and you're like, which comes first, right? And then they give you 3 and then it's like you've got like 20, right? And you need to make a story out of it. That is where I excelled.
Yeah.
Like my age and my IQ was like 3 times my actual age because it's visual and that's what there's no words.
Yeah.
There's no
but
text.
That cuts through to what you do now as a living, which is great, right?
Yeah,
and the same for me as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was very lucky in respect that although it was frustrating because I had to move a lot, my parents were very supportive of dyslexia. Like they got me assessed at such a young age because they noticed stuff that I said.
Yeah.
They're like, that doesn't seem normal. Whereas it wasn't that recognised. My dad had dyslexia, but they didn't really know what it was when he was a kid.
Yeah, I don't think... it just wasn't back then. Like, we're a similar age and like...
I'm a little bit younger than you.
Are you really? Okay. But like,
No, we are similar.
I didn't even know what autism was until I was like at least 18 years old. That's crazy to think that now. When there's so much of the spectrum everywhere, and like people are being diagnosed, and like people like it's being diagnosed from when people like kids are like pretty much babies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
People are noticing behaviours. And it's just something that we did, especially in Wolverhampton, which is like, we had no money for schools and no money for extracurriculum or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Not a highly funded area, is it?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it got a bit of money when it became a Millennium City, but it's still a shithole.
So in regards to dyslexia now, before we wrap up, right? Now you know you're dyslexic. You have like an answer, a label, right? A, does that feel good? Do you know what I mean? Like to kind of like have an answer for why you are the way you are. And then B, as an adult, like in terms of interactions with people, how do you think it affects you?
Oh, like can I do?
Okay, do the first one first. Sorry, I asked you 2 questions.
So what was the first one?
How does it like make you feel
having the label. It's not an excuse for me.
Yeah.
I don't use it as an excuse, but I do like to prefix. Sometimes if I know that it's going to affect something that I'm going to do, I do like to just be like, just bear with me. Like, you know, if somebody gives me a lot of stuff to read, I'll be like, you know, I'll just be like straight up, like, I'm not going to read this. Or I'll try and get someone to sort of put it into like, you know,
Short form.
Yeah, short form. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm not even going to try and do it because it's going to cause me a bit of distress.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how we are with the business as well. I was like Ben, he takes care of all of the admin kind of stuff, and I'm just like, let's be creative and let's do whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's having the label it definitely isn't bad. It's just something that I'm very aware of and I make other people aware of as well.
Yeah.
Like no shame.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I hate when people are like, I don't want my kid to be diagnosed and labelled. It's like, well, actually, you're doing them a disharm by doing that, like disjustice, sorry. You're kind of harming them because like they'll go through life just struggling, whereas
that was me.
It's a positive thing, yeah. You know, now on LinkedIn, I'm still trying to find this, but apparently you can add it as a skill.
Really?
Yeah.
But it kind of is a skill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In some ways, like my dyslexia helps me sort of be who I am today, which is fucking great. So,
yeah, exactly.
You know.
Okay, and then finally, how do you think it affects like your day-to-day interactions? But I mean more on like a personal level. So like, obviously we know, and it makes sense that it would affect you in work. But like, I don't know, say texting or anything like that. You're a voice noter.
I'm a voice noter, yeah, massively, as you know. I am. and like, I have a great voice, so like that's fine. But yeah, I hate my fucking phone. I think I'm probably one of the only people that is like, my phone is a tool for me. It's not something that I'm enslaved to. Yeah. Like, and if my phone goes off more than 3 times in 1 minute, even though it's on silent, I can hear it vibrate. More than 3 times in like 1 minute, I'll just scream at the fucking phone, and I'll be like, I'm not touching the phone now. I'm not touching it for an hour.
You know what? This is hilarious because Danny will send me like 10 voice notes in the space of 2 minutes. So my phone is popping up like.
Yeah, it's right. And someone will send me a message and I'll just like, just fucking leave me alone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of like, I've been on a roll. I've only started a couple of times in this podcast, but like that's something that I'm really conscious about is my stutter sometimes comes out and I have to just pause and just be like, try and think of the words I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But like that's something that, especially in like when we go out and it's like a gig environment, it's something that I struggle with quite a bit.
Yeah.
But as I said, I'm just open with it now, so I'm just fine. Everybody knows me. And some people, when I'm like, my stutter's a bit bad today, they'll be like, I've never noticed you had a stutter. And I'm like, yeah, fucking sick.
Yeah.
Nice one. So yeah, it does affect me day to day, but I just own it, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's good because there are other people who don't. And if I ever meet anyone who's got like pretty much exactly the same like style of like dyslexia as me, like it'd be sick. Do you know what I mean? We'd have a great time.
Yeah.
But if people can see me getting on with it, then maybe I can inspire them to sort of get on with it in a way. I'm not saying that it's perfect, and I'm not saying that it's great because it's not.
Yeah,
but like
for sure.
I do the best that I can, and I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
know?
definitely. I think that's a really good point to make because I think dyslexia is being talked about less, but like being neurodivergent is like a topical subject.
Yeah, definitely.
Like right now. And I think that's fucking great because now I've generally had some of my best friends tell me like something's happening. I can't even think what it is, but I just remember one of my best mates saying to me, I must have said, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic, right? Just bear with me. And they were like, you can't use that as an excuse for everything.
Wow, who said that?
This was years ago.
Fuck?
Let's not go there. But like, I know they didn't mean it from like a bad place. I think they genuinely thought you should just use it. It's a bit like when someone's like, I'm a bit depressed now. No, you're just being fucking lazy. Do you know what I mean? And people didn't get it. They didn't understand. People just thought dyslexia affects you writing and reading, right? Yeah. I'm like, just getting here on the tube, it affects like drive, like not just like I'm a good driver, but I mean like...
The getting here on the tube thing is something that I do all the time.
Yeah.
I always get on the wrong tube.
Yeah.
And I've lived in London for 7 years. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I've lived here for 10 years and I still make these mistakes all the time. But it's generally because I will double check, triple check everything, right? But sometimes it's not clear and I will stand there. Sometimes also...
You know, when you stand there just looking at the tube map, that's me. Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's telling me... Like,
you don't even know what you're looking at.
I'm like, I'm just looking for a word and the word is not standing out to me right now. So I have to read this 3 times. It really frustrates me. It's actually something I think I'm going to, as this goes on, trying to advocate for more, because there are things that happen because it's black and white. And I'm telling you that is such a thing. Like, it's known that black on white, which is why the overlays make a difference.
Right.
Our brains don't read it. If you're dyslexic, like it's too harsh or something. I don't know what it is, but the words just don't stand out to us, right? Why don't they think about that? Like, it is ableist. It is. It's this is, I hate it. And I think this comes back down to like the labeling, and I'm trying to like not be bothered by it. But it's a registered disability to be dyslexic.
Yeah.
And that's not really talked about or thought about enough. But at the same time, it's also known as a skill. So, like, it has its plus and its minus. But I feel like the world isn't built for us sometimes.
Oh, for real? Can I ask you, just like slightly off topic, your spelling? How's your spelling?
Terrible.
Yeah, same.
Mine's a lot better. Okay, so I feel very much like in this space, I'm extremely lucky because... my dad's like also changed schools a million times, right? Yeah. He grew up very privileged. Like, long story in regards to that. I just grew up normal, but at one point my dad's family had decent money, right? So they really spent a lot, like whatever they could, on trying to get him a decent education. But it meant he changed schools a lot because they just kept saying he's stupid, but they didn't understand dyslexia, right? For me, one of the reasons I had to leave one of the schools is because we couldn't afford to send me there anymore, right? So I got sent to my first secondary school was a private boarding school. I mean, I wasn't boarding, but it was a private school. And it was because it specialized in dyslexia and was really good for me, or like for dyslexic kids. But then we just couldn't afford, I was on a scholarship in order to be able to afford to go there. But then we couldn't afford to keep me there anymore. And then I went to another really good, secondary school. There was a state school, but I'm lucky that the area I grew up in has like, it's a good area. Do you get what I mean? So the state schools had like good funding or whatever. But the point is that whatever money my parents did have, generally they spent on my education.
Right.
I didn't have Sky TV. We didn't go abroad on holiday. Like, literally didn't get on a plane until I was 15,
Yeah.
And I appreciate so much that they did that. Like, I was confusing when I was younger,
right.
Like having to move so much. But the point I mean is that I had I had help from the age of 6.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I feel very privileged in that respect. So yes, my worst thing is reading and spelling, okay? But at this grand age, I had so much help with my spelling that is a lot better.
Yeah.
So much better. I have friends that are deeply dyslexic that will text me and I'm like, you have had no help. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't...
Well, they'll text you, so even the predictive text isn't even correct.
Yeah, like, I'm like, how is it? I know, right? Literally.
Christ.
The things I used to struggle with when I was little were things like TH, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I was putting F when I was hearing th, but it was th. Things like that I remember, but I had such good help that, like, it's now pretty great. And predictive text is this.
Yeah, predictive text is the one.
It's the fucking best.
I'm so bad at spelling. And even just I'll be writing notes and I'll look at it later and I'm like, what the fuck is that word that I wrote with my own hand?
What does this mean? I try and make myself write quite a lot still as well, like in notepads and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I do.
There's scientific proof that, like, when you write things down, it goes into your brain easier. And I think that thing of, like, the stutter that you have, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think the stutter subject, maybe we should do like a whole other podcast.
Oh, yeah, we could. There's a thing that I've been doing with the stutter is if I memorize the first letter of every word I'm going to say in a sentence when I'm filming, I usually get it right.
That's good.
But it's better, but it's not that much better.
I really wonder because my ex-boyfriend I was with for a long time had like a very, very obvious stutter, right? But like he had never been diagnosed with anything else, dyslexia or whatever. As I got older and kind of, I don't know, now I've got long COVID that I'm suffering with. I think it's made that kind of don't know what it is, where you're searching for words in your brain.
Yeah,
Because our brains don't, like, I could tell you everything someone was wearing 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like my memory is sick. Like people are like, how can you remember that? And it's like, yeah, I remember everything. You're a dickhead. I remember you was a dickhead.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to words, like names, I'm fucked.
Yeah, names, not for me.
Yeah, because our brains, they just don't pick up on the letters. So then that's what that thing of you saying, which makes a lot of sense, that if you memorize the like first letter of each word, it's like a cue.
Yeah,
exactly. And that I've struggled with a lot. Like, I used to do presenting on a YouTube show, and they would every time I'd be like, please just give me, like, print it off so I can at least see. So I will see the beginning of the sentence. And it would be like, you turn up on the day and they're giving me all these scientific facts because it was about sustainability, and I'm like, I'm fucking dyslexic.
Gone. Yeah, that's gone. Yeah.
I would feel so stupid because they're like, no, you missed that word, and I'm like, please print it out. Like, I'm fucked at this point. I'm not actually stupid. And if I can just chat, fucking great.
Yeah, if you could just talk, like, I did this talk on the weekend, and it was like, there was this hosting thing, and I had all these notes. And as I finished writing them, I was like, I'm not going to say a fucking thing with these notes. But I have to do it. I have to at least try. And I didn't use them at all. And when I did the comedy night back in February, and I had all of these routines, and I was like, I'm not going to use them. Like, you know, so I just went up there and winged it. And people are like, you did stand up and you winged it. Who does that? I'm like, me, obviously.
I think that is a massive skill. Like, this sounds so weird saying now, but I was a musician. Again, another podcast.
I know you as a musician. Yeah. We all know.
But I was a musician for many years. And when I first started, the only reason it started was a bit of a joke, right? I mean, I think the whole thing was a bit of a joke. I don't really know how it ended up being a career for like a long time.
Wow.
But I loved like rock music and I loved rap, right? And they started doing, in the home of Shakespeare, Stratford-upon-Avon, rap nights that were literally like, I'm not even joking you, 8 Mile. Like, but this is like a bunch of like,
what?
I mean, this isn't Stratford-upon-Avon, so it's fucking weird, yeah. But you'd go, it was like an open mic, right?
Yeah.
And different people would get up and battle, and no girls had ever gotten up. And my friends just took me, because when we would get a little bit tipsy, they'd be playing guitar, I would just like freestyle.
Yeah.
It wasn't serious. I used to write poetry, so it just came from that, right? And then they threw me up on stage, and I was like, "Fucking hell!"
Shit.
And I like got through to the second to last round, so I nearly won on the first one.
How many rounds did you do?
It's a long time ago. I think there were 4 rounds.
No
so like
way.
the final round was like the winner, and I didn't win, but I was
Third runner up.
No, second.
Second
like,
runner-up.
as in, what am I trying to say?
You didn't get to the
final.
1-1.
Sorry, I got to the final, but I didn't win.
Yeah,
Do you get what I mean? So I was
yeah.
against the person in the final. And then I went back and I did it and I won.
No way.
And like, I just completely freestyled.
That's sick.
And I think that is a thing that we're way better at freestyling in life.
Yeah. We could just talk anything, put us on the spot and we'll chat shit about whatever, and we'll have a great rapport and it's fucking sick. But like, any time trying to get us to rehearse lines or shit like that, like, no thanks.
I know. I sometimes think I should do more acting because I've done bits, and then I'm like,
you know, I would love
not.
to be a fucking actor. I'd love it. It'd be great, but I just know that I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, this is kind of how I feel. Anyway, thank you so much. We've
No
chatted
worries. Thanks
for
for
a
having me.
long time. It's been great. I really appreciate you talking about it all. And if you want to find Danny, I'll put all his socials below. He is at Danny.
Just the one, so it's just one social.
Okay, just the one. He's not allowed on any of this. If you want to hear, pardon me, you can find me on all socials at Kitty Cowell, and then I've now started at my Neurodivergent Diary Pod on Instagram. So hit me up on Twitter if you want to tell me who I should have as my next guest, or you want to leave any feedback or comments. Peace out.